The Flexispot E7 Plus retails around the $600 mark and is the cheapest four-leg standing desk I've tested that's actually stable. But just how stable is it, and is the rest of the desk any good? Let's find out. The E7 Plus arrived in about 3 boxes, 2 for the frame and 1 for the surface. Now, I didn't have any damage, so that was definitely a nice way to start this process. Now, the overall assembly process for the E7 Plus was a bit on the complex side compared to other 4-leg frames I've assembled previously. I think most of this was likely due to the fact that they've gone with a 2-motor system, which requires hex rods to share motors for each side of the frame. Now, adding to the complexity of the assembly was the fact that it required 4 different size Allen wrenches. This is never a good sign before you start any assembly process. I would definitely recommend a couple hands here to at least hold some of the frame components as you build them. Now, it took me about 45 minutes in total to assemble the desk, so for the average person, I probably plan on about an hour and a half to maybe as much as 2 hours. Now, one particular issue that stood out with this desk for me was the fact that the surface did not come with pre-drilled holes. This meant a cordless drill was required to attach the frame to the surface and took a bit of extra time to kind of get everything square with the frame and surface. If you're still stuck on what standing desk to buy, download our standing desk cheat sheet linked in the description. The Flexispot E7 Plus that I selected was a 48 by 30 inch deep in the walnut chipboard surface with the white frame. Now, the E Plus comes standard with their 4-button programmable switch that features a USB plug for easy access for an additional charging port. Now, this item was about $629 with free shipping. Flexispot listed it as a flash deal, but visiting their site fairly regularly as of late, it does appear that this is almost always on sale, so I wouldn't worry necessarily too much about the price now and the flash sale unless it's around the Black Friday or Cyber Monday timeframe. For my specs and features section, I'm actually going to list what the brand has for each of their specifications and features, and later in the video, we'll actually test out these to verify they're accurate. The E7 Plus comes standard with a 4-button programmable switch. There's also manual height adjustment buttons that you can use on the fly or when you're setting up programmable heights. This desk also features a collision avoidance function, which is designed to protect the surrounding furniture and the desk itself from crushing or breaking items if you were to, say, hit the programmable button by accident. The Flexispot E7 Plus boasts a massive 540-pound capacity. Now, this is a large number, especially when considering competitors like the Uplift desk advertise around the same capacity with 4 motors versus the 2 on the E7. But if you look closer at the details, it's actually listed as a static capacity on the Flexispot product, with the actual lifting capacity being 440 pounds. Now, this is still a large number, but it honestly just bugs me a bit since it's deceptive in my opinion. Who removes 100 pounds off their desk to move it up and then puts the weight back on? The height adjustment speed for the E7 Plus is listed at 1 inch per second. Again, in the marketing material, it says it's the best choice for most people, featuring a higher loading capacity and even faster lifting speed. But my question would be, compared to what? Flexispot has positioned this desk to be a mid-range competitor, but its speed would indicate that it's closer to the best of entry-level standing desk products. The height adjustment range on the Flexispot E7 Plus is 27 inches up to 52.6. Now, this does include a 1-inch thick work surface. But I'm having trouble again understanding how this would be the best choice for most when it's designed really to fit users, say 5'11" up to 7 foot tall in their seated positions. Regardless, if you're shorter, my suggestion here is to use a footrest. This would technically bring the floor up 3 or more inches depending on the footrest that you choose and really allow those shorter users to sit at this particular desk ergonomically correct. The easiest of the specs to test was the height adjustment range, and now per their specifications, it was exactly as advertised with a range from 27 inches up to 52.6, again with the 1-inch surface from Flexispot. Now, if you're a very tall user, this desk goes incredibly high. I combined the speed and capacity testing. I always want to verify that the product can lift what the brand advertises and how much speed drops as you near that max capacity. Because the Flexispot had already reduced their normal speed to 1 inch per second, about 50% lower than most of the products that are similar, I didn't expect to see a significant drop as we got closer to its max capacity. The 1 inch per second was true with most loads, and as it started to near the capacity, there was a drop in performance to 0.84 inches per second. This included the weight of the surface plus the additional weight to get that 440 mark. Now, I definitely wanted to test it a little bit more, and so I put 440 pounds on the desk plus the extra weight from the top, which is about 30 pounds, and the drop increased significantly from 0.84 down to 0.69. So I definitely wouldn't recommend trying to push this desk beyond that 440 pound rating with the surface included. Testing the stability of the E7 Plus, I was actually really excited to see how stable this product is. Flexispot's marketing again made me laugh out loud a bit though, specifically showing a guy doing push-ups into the desk or something like that at a height of probably 40 to 42 inches, and then again showing how it remains stable even when you jump off the desk at that same height. Now, while I didn't do a push-up test per se, I did run it through my typical wobble and rocking motion tests. I've tested a ton of standing desks this way, and while this isn't a scientific method, and we do have a more scientific method with our wobble meter and deflection gauge that we use, it does give you a good idea if this product will be solid at different heights or if it won't be. The Flexispot E7 Plus was solid through all of the lower to mid-range testing. Only when the desk was close to max height, north of say 49 to 50 inches, did it start to show signs of wobble and rocking that you might actually notice. Now, most of this came from the lack of a cross support, a wedge, or any other type of design created to reduce those lateral movements. Front to back motion was the same, and this again came from its design of the foot, not so much the rest of the frame. But overall, for the price, this is the most stable desk I've tested around $600 that doesn't use a cross support and has a range beyond 50 inches tall. The Flexispot brand has a unique advantage in the category as it's owned by the actual OEM manufacturer, Loctech. Now, Loctech brand has always focused on offering products at the lowest cost possible. Many times you'll even see their customer-forward brand Flexispot is able to beat the prices of Loctech's other customers like Vivo or Monoprice as an example, giving them a clear advantage in this lower cost space. Now, personally, I believe that Flexispot does make the best entry-level products. Recently, though, they have made attempts to jump into the mid-range with their E7 Plus we're talking about today, and especially with their E7Q. Now, while the E7 Plus is likely fringe for mid-range, I think the E7Q appears to be a better of the two, and maybe actually a closer competitor to those mid-range products from, say, Uplift Desk or Fully. Looking at the control box for the E7 Plus, it's what I would typically see from most of the lower cost and even some of the mid-range products. It features a 2-board system with a separate power supply and a second board to actually operate the desk. These systems are always used to cut down on costs, and this really shouldn't be a surprise considering how much they're asking for that 4-leg E7 Plus. Taking apart the motors, there weren't any real concerns here. This looked like your typical brush DC motor. The size of the motors was larger than the average motor for most of the 2-leg desk, which is likely why it's able to actually lift 440 pounds. Now, the power output from the control box is more likely the reason it is able to move faster than a 1 inch per second speed. The fit and finish for each of the columns seemed good as well. The welds and paint was consistent. Because the frame is white, it does a good job hiding some of the additional lubricant that would be more visible on black columns. Also, looking closer at the gears and the connection of the hex rods to the motor, I'm a little bit more concerned here with the plastic parts being used. Now, this may be a weak point for the desk, but Flexispot does feature a 15-year warranty on this particular desk, so I would assume that Flexispot would help out customers if this was to break. Now, I was surprised to see, though, that they didn't include a spring system or braking system in the motor to prevent backdriving. This is nice to see from such a low-cost product. Overall, I'd say the Flexispot E7 Plus could be a solid option if your budget is, say, around $600 to $700. I wouldn't plan on pushing this desk more than 300 pounds though, but if you're looking for the least expensive option that's actually stable, I think this is probably it. I plan to take a closer look at their E7Q in the near future, so keep an eye out for that if you're looking for something closer to the mid-range. Thanks for watching.